All right. Beautiful, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here. This is the second to last day of November. I just wanted to create a little vortex space, especially for newer people, like brand new people or fairly new people, so that you can get some of your, like, not just like logistical questions, but also some of the questions around like, well, what, like, how do I do this? Or how do I do that? Or, like some of the more structural, strategic questions as well. And I just want to give like a little overview of where we're at right now. For those of you who are just actually, if you can also just put in the chat for me, like how long you've been in this Healy space. I know Ariana's going to say one day, no less than 24 hours. But, like, where are you at? How long have you been connected in energetically with this space? Or when did you get your Healy? 4 hours. Woo! 3 months. Beautiful. And so I'm just going to kind of give like a little bit of a zoom out perspective on where we're at and what's happening right now in our pod, like in our community. Stephanie Brown, everyone. So you're seeing like a lot of people on this Zoom have just been here for like a few days, which is amazing. So if you're brand new here, welcome. You are so welcomed here. We're so happy and excited that you're part of this community, and also that you found your way onto this little Zoom today. But a little bit of like the zoomed out perspective here is that, and my name is Sarah, by the way, if you're just meeting me for the first time. I put this message like into a couple of my threads, of my leaders threads, so just to see who would like pop in. So what's happening right now within the Healy energetic is that there's a lot of energy moving within our community, and it's also attracting a lot of energy and a lot of support from external, like there's this kind of unseen support that I feel really building. And then there's also this very magnetic, first of all, visibility is high. Right now, there's a lot of visibility. And what happens when we become visible, or when something becomes visible, it becomes magnetic. It becomes extremely magnetic. So there's a lot of magnetism and there's a lot of momentum moving through this collective right here, right now. I want to just give like a really quick overview of what's possible for all of you who are brand new and you're just like, whoa. So the first resource that I want to point you to is called the Boards app. If someone could just drop the link, most of you probably have this already, but that is designed, and we are, by the way, for anyone who's like, oh, this Boards app, like it's cool, but could use some refreshing. We're working behind the scenes to refresh and like really update and take the Boards app to the next level of beauty and effectiveness and flow. And for now, this is how we've been building everything to this point. So if you haven't already, after this call, I want to invite you to check out section 1, which is basically just like, where to find your links, what the Zoom calls are, like just very basic, like plugging in, and also identifying why you're here, which is extremely important, like knowing what it is that you want to change in your world or experience that you're not experiencing now. Spend time with that. And then section 2 is really like the basic nitty gritty of like, well, how do you actually move energy in this system? Like, how do you actually move energy through the system? And in section 2, there's a piece on the fast start. I'm not going to talk about fast start right now, but I'm going to talk about, hi, Stephanie, yeah, we're excited. What I'm going to just reference in the fast start category is that through the end of tomorrow, there's an opportunity for absolutely everybody within our community to receive a free mag Healy. I don't have my mag Healy with me right now, which is unusual. But the mag Healy has essentially like 2 Healys inside of it. And it is miraculous. Since I brought 2 mag Healys to my house, I live in Uruguay and I was just in Florida, partly to get a bunch of my Healys that were waiting for me. partly to run a retreat with 50 Healy humans. But since I brought my Mag Healys into my home here in Uruguay, my husband, who's been in a very close relationship with ganja for probably like 30 years, has stopped smoking. And he started cooking like a lot. He's like cooking all the time. My 11-year-old son, who's always been kind of like more, he's like my projector little, like, he's just like very sensitive. And when he gets really sensitive, he can be like almost like aggressive with his sensitivity. He has like deeply harmonized to the point where I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? And my daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, who, for those of you who like know any of my background, I like very much revere the feminine cycle and bleeding time. And she has had extremely like debilitating bleeding times for the past like just like up until like a few times, like maybe like starting like her third or fourth cycle, like she wouldn't even like be able to barely move and would like throw up. And her last cycle, she had a Mag Healy on her womb with the women's care. And she was like pretty much, I mean, she sat in bed and read her books, but she wasn't like gripping my hand and being like, why, like sweating, you know, and being like, why me? Like, why me, mama? So, you know, these are all very deeply personal and really powerful experiences that I've had. I've had many experiences with the Healy itself, and like with the Mag Healy is something that really is like a bringer of miracles. And so I want to be sure that all of you know that you can receive a $3,000 Mag Healy for free by the end of tomorrow. You can qualify it by the end of this promo, which ends tomorrow. The month's end, write this down, at midnight Universal Time, which is Greenwich Mean Time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern or 6:59, which is 3:59 Pacific time. So that's the cutoff time. After that time, the promo's gone and the points reset every month. So like what you can do to receive that free Mag Healy, which I just like, I'm like, I want to just give one to everyone on the planet, is to personally sell 3:59 Pacific time. Yeah, and double check that on like Time Buddy, but I'm pretty sure that it's midnight Universal Greenwich Mean Time, which it's 9 p.m. here, 7 p.m. Eastern, and 4 p.m. My time zones are really not my genius. So double check, but get it into your system too. And so basically like what that looks like is having 3 people within your community use your link and purchase a Healy, either a Resonance Plus, a professional, or a Mag. And with 3 sales by the end of this month, you will get your free Mag Healy. Now I never recommend anyone start with anything below Resonance Plus because you lose tons of functionality. You don't get the coach. So Resonance Plus, professional, and Mag Healy are the ones, really. So I'm gonna just pause there, and then I'm like see if you all have any questions. I'm gonna do a little bit on well, actually before I open it back up, I'm gonna finish this little section here. So we're not going to talk about fast start, which is in the boards, because that's the fast start right now. The fast start, like the fast start, slow start, whatever, like anybody, wherever you're starting from, like that's the window. That's what we're all like, that's the highest and best use of your focus, is just to think about the Mag Healy. So you don't need to worry about anything else fast start wise in this moment. The other part of section 2 in the boards app outlines how to play the game, because this business is really more like fun, right? we get to hold it lightly, we get to be creative, we get to be magnetic, we get to play and see how good it feels. And I'm just going to give you a very basic overview of what that game stands for, and then I'm going to open it up. So I like to use this acronym because it can be really helpful when we're in the process of like being really excited and being like, oh my God, like I just got a Healy, like you need one, blah, 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 right? Like this can help us to just orient like the correct, like most honoring steps to take in the process, rather than just like sending out a bunch of messages that are like so exciting and like kind of overwhelming. So the game stands for G is go public. And going public basically just means that we let people know what we're doing. If we don't let anybody know, it's like becoming visible. If we don't do that, there's no possible way for energy to return to us. So there's two ways that you can do this. One is posting on social media. We have a little challenge, like an invitation, which is also in that folder, which is if you post 11 times consecutively in your stories or as reels, but like videos, then we'll give you, and then you create a highlight and send it in, then we'll give you a free Quantum Leap program, which you can load into your Healy and run on your Healy because you're quantum leaping your business. So that's one way, visibility publicly, like outward facing. And then the other way is to sit down and write a list. I like to write my list from this place. Who do I know that might be praying for this right now? Not who could I convince, not like, but like who could I be in service to right now? And then just write, I like to aim for 100 names. Intuitively write, you'll be surprised who comes in. You'll be surprised who reaches out to you as you're writing their name down. It's very, very wild. And then you're just gonna start, asking them questions, like getting curious and creating curiosity. There's more information on the boards on all these things, but I just want to give you guys like a very zoomed out framework. The second piece, the A, is ask magic questions / avoid word vomit. So raise your little hands on the screen if you've ever like gone to your friend and been like, oh my God, Dora, I just got a Healy. It's so amazing. You need one of these. It's so awesome. Did you hear about the quantum sensor? You can like use it with microcurrent, or you can use it with the coil, and the coil is amazing. And it uses like scalar waves. Like you've heard about scalar waves, right? And by the way, like, did you know that you can also like make this into a business? And I have the best mentor, and the community is incredible. And you should just like, and like, you can even like write it. Sometimes you can either say it to someone or write it in like one of those text messages. They're just like, so avoiding word vomit. Details are like salt. Once you put too many in, you just can't take them out, and you want to curb your enthusiasm. Like think about instead of saying it, instead of expressing it outwardly, just allow it to like radiate through you. Like keep the energy in, and like let your field become magnetic rather than like pushing them. Like just be enthusiastic energetically, but not verbally. And asking magic questions is just really practicing the art of being interested in them, curious about what's going on for them. If you ever come to a lull in the conversation and you don't know what to say, just ask any question. Like you want to have this person in front of you feel like you care about them. And it's rare in our world to come into a space where that is, where that's the priority, to listen. So M is moving them through the tools. This is one of the things that allows our business to become leveraged and then eventually residual and eventually passive, is that we, instead of personally like being the one who's like, okay, I'm gonna like sit you down. I mean, there's tons of practitioners and like incredible people who can sell anything to anybody who are part of this community, and you can do that. But what you want to make sure is that the person that's purchasing from you, that's enrolling through you, feels like they can do it too. You don't want them to look at you and be like, oh, well, I bought this from Katya because Katya is just like this incredible influencer and she knows like what she's doing and she knows everything. Or like, I bought this from Dora and she's an amazing biohacker and like, but I'm not going to be able to like talk to someone about Healy the way that she did. So I'm going to have to wait a long time until I study the material. And I know it, right? Or whatever. Like, so we want to just show and demonstrate how easy it is for them to do it too. And we do that by sending videos, tools, information. A lot of that's housed in the boards app. And then you're really just demonstrating the person. You just need to send a couple videos, post a little bit on your social media, send a few videos, and so that's the M, moving them through the tools. And then the E is enrolling them and getting them started right. And basically that just means that you start them with the boards up, you help them figure out what their goal is, the class start, whatever, and then you tell them, great, this is how you're going to start. Go public for 11 days, right? So it's just really keeping, and that is where the duplication comes in. And that's what makes the energy move through the lineages. Like that's what allows us to work ourselves out of a position, like out of a job here, is that when we do that elegantly, the energy can just move very freely without us needing to be the one who's having like a million conversations and training calls and, like getting on the phone with every single person. Like I couldn't possibly, and I don't want to, so the system really is what allows the freedom. Like the structure creates the freedom, and it's a pretty mellow structure. So hi everybody who's just jumped in. Ooh, we got a nice full little call here. Hi beautiful people. And so I'm just gonna pause and open it up, and I'm here for preferably business related questions, not necessarily like my Healy won't connect to the internet or whatever. So questions, anything, I'm here for you. And you can also type them into the chat.
I'll speak.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay. I have a hard time when I send videos, checking back in to see if they've watched the video. Like, I feel like that's where I like start to lose people is I'm like, so have you checked the video? Oh, sorry, did you have time to check that video? And I'm like, I know they didn't check out the video. If they watched it, they would have messaged me. So yeah, what's your advice on following up once you send them videos?
Okay, awesome question. So Rachel, about how many people would you say that you're in conversation right now, or that you sent videos?
Probably 7.
Okay, great. And do you feel in your somewhere like this attachment to those 7 people and being like, well, I have these people like so close information, but they're not responding to me. Like, what do I do to get them to respond? Like, do you have like this kind of energetic like feeling about those people?
Probably. Yeah, definitely.
Great. So this is really common. And so there's a couple of things that I'm going to share in relationship to this. First is that 7 conversations isn't enough. And when I say conversation, I don't mean like that you're going to be, sitting down in the living room with 7 people, like with a cup of tea and spending like hours in conversation with them. What I mean more is like thinking about saying less to more people.
Okay, I would say, so sorry to jump in. I've sent 7 people like videos. I probably have like 40 or 50 like people in my folder that I touch, but haven't necessarily like talked about Healy yet.
Okay, great. So with those people, you want to bring questions. You want to start to move them a little bit down the line, from just like, hey, going. curious, like, you know, have you ever heard about Healy or has whatever, or like what's happening for you? One of the two conversations, like either financial or, but you do want to like move the energy with those guys. And then in terms of like these people, these friends of yours that you have sent the videos to, so a couple things. One is that it takes typically 7 to 10, if not more, like contact points with someone and the new information before they're ready to say yes, or even before they're ready to watch the video. So thinking about ways that you can circle back around non-Healy related. One of the things that I love, yeah, this is like a really, this is the structure, the what's happening with you. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's lots of the word vomit voice. Okay, so here's what I want to like, the zoom out. And I'm gonna use I always leave with how are, yeah, and you guys like share for you as well, like Hillary, I mean 13 Heelys with basically very little Instagram. So Hillary, what are some of the ways that you have been starting conversations with people that feels authentic to you? Oh, can you
Got it.
Okay, great.
Gosh, I mean, I think so. For instance, I was at this one event, right? And I do go to a lot of events for my other business, which puts me in front of other people. But I did go to one event, and this guy, I wore my Healy. I wasn't supposed to be selling Healy at this event. Like that wasn't what this was about. But I wore it, and someone just, you know, when they ask you a question, you know, you get the excited kind of essence, or at least that's how I do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the coolest thing. It's really, I am like all about it. It's been blowing my mind. I try to like interject some sort of a story from myself. And now I have a couple more stories from some clients of mine that have bought them. And so that's been really helpful. But I mean, Rach, you can use my story. Like, go for it, you know? I feel like gleaning, I guess would be the good word, from my farming days, from other people on here. I mean, I don't care if someone uses my information. I've sold one to somebody who's like really excited to put it into her chiropractic practice. And I kind of approached that chiropractor as hey, I have this really, like, I've been using this cool device. I think you'd be really into it. You could just use it alongside and get other people excited about it. People come to you for pain. You know, think about the points of what kind of people the person you're talking to may run across in their life, I guess, is kind of how I go about it. But, you know, and then also I have been in this space of bioresonance for a couple of years now. And so I even told that chiropractor, like, if you don't know how to talk about it, you could send them to me. Like, that would be great. I would not mind talking to them, or sending them a piece of information that's been really helpful. That, you know, just try to glean as much as you can from the person you're talking to about their life and who's around them. And then find somebody else that you know in this community maybe that could share some advice for you. But getting excited first and wearing it and like being present with that person is really, really important. Eye contact is really good too.
Yep. Amazing. Thanks so much, Hillary. Yeah. And I think that that's really, so this is like it's really common to feel that feeling of like, I sent these people a message and like, they didn't respond to me, or they didn't buy from me, you know, like that this feeling of like, what's going on with this person? And there's that, for me, is always an indication personally. And I'm just sharing, like, I can share from my own personal experience here, is that for me is always an indication that I haven't like broadened my experience enough. That the way that I approach this is like, rather than thinking, what is the next, like, what do I need to say to this person to get them to say yes? Like, what do I need to say? Like, what's like the follow-up? What's the perfect like follow-up script? Like, make sure they've watched the video, and like, you know, like me standing there and saying, what do I need to do to make this happen? Rather to get curious about what is going on for them and why might they want this, right? To ask more questions and draw them out. But then also to know that, like, I've had this vision, or like this image that came to me years ago that I somehow, it's kind of like random and weird, but maybe it'll get like the energetics across, is that when I'm in conversations, it's like as if I'm standing, and you guys are probably going to laugh, this analogy is super weird, but it's like I'm on a tennis court and I have this big like ball, like this big basket of these like golden orbs that like are like tennis balls, but they're actually golden orbs. And there's hundreds of people in front of me, maybe even thousands, right? Like I'm looking at my social media and there's like thousands of people. I mean, and I just start to toss these orbs out into the crowd. I'm just throwing them out there, and I'm throwing them like, and I'm not attached to the people that aren't catching them. I'm just observing and scanning and watching to see who is. And if they catch it, and I'm like, throw it back. And if they don't throw it back, I'm not attached to the people that aren't engaging with me. I'm looking for the people that are. And that's where I'm putting my energy. So it's like, as long as I'm in that exchange, and if at a certain point that exchange kind of like fades away for the moment, I'm not going to get down and be like, okay, throw it back, like start like throwing it at them harder, like getting in there, you know, like I'm just like, okay, you know, that person is, but it only works if we're like active and touch pointing with a lot of people, right? If that energy is flowing through us. And again, like the touch point doesn't have to be this like deep. The way that I personally, like my strategy with moving people through, like with kind of staying in connection and like having multiple exposures with people, is just to love up on them in their stories. Like I save, so one of my, like, here's a little tip or technique that I like to do is I actually have two DM boxes in my social media. And I put all my random in the primary, and then only my people that I'm in conversation with, I put them in the general box. So anytime that anyone like responds to one of my stickers, or, you know, reaches out or comments on something that's business related, and I have any kind of exchange with them, I move them into that folder. And if I've sent them something, like if I've been like in a deeper relationship with them, and or I'm like really excited about them, I flag it. And in the moments when I'm just like, like, where can I add some energy to my business right now? I go to the bottom. Well, now I don't go all the way to the bottom because that mailbox is pretty like, but I'll go down to the, you know, I'll go down deep into that box, and I'll just see who has stories in their thing. And I just give love. Like I make what I like to call emotional deposits. It's like, I'm just giving freely of love. Again, it's not from this place of like, oh, if I give, like, you know, like if I like this person's stories like 6 times in a row, they're going to buy a Healy from me. It's just more this space of like, where can I give of myself and support? And then I know that somewhere in that, like somewhere out there, someone's going to throw this back. Someone's going to like pick up the ball and throw it back. And actually Ariana is like you know, she's a beautiful example. Like she's someone that, I think she just like filled out my type form. Yeah. Like the other day, she was one of the, so I have a type form that helps me organize my conversations as well. So I actually like have people, you know, fill in this type form, and I've had probably like 500 responses to that type form, and I respond to most of them. And most of the people don't ever, they've spent the time, they filled out a type form, you know, like they've done all this stuff. And a lot of them don't, like I write back to them and they never even write back to me. Right. But now they're in my conversation. So then I can like we're in a conversation. But Ariana, you know, she like filled out the type form. I was like, oh, this girl looks really cool. Like I had the hit, right? I was like, ooh, she's like, I had that like feeling. And so we just kind of started talking and communicating, and I felt the exchange was happening. Like I could feel that there was like a connectivity. She was hot to trot, baby. But I mean, you know, it was a few days of her being like, yeah, I'm interested. But I was like, okay, let's connect. And she's like, well, I'm busy. And, you know, there was a little bit of that. And then like, I could have been like, oh, like she's not buying a Healy from me. But then like, I just went through the process, and I stayed in as long as she was staying in connectivity with me energetically and like staying in conversation. Like we were just kind of like weaving together. And then I sent the link, and didn't hear back from her until this morning when she was like, oh, I figured it out. Like I thought it was $4,000, but I realized it's 1,500, and I bought the professional. And I was like, great, jump on this call with me. So it can be so fast and it can be so slow. And I think really just staying committed to the mystery and not getting attached, like just not getting stuck on where it's not moving, but like paying attention to the little places where it is and prioritizing that. One other quick thing, another visual that I really feel can be, for me, is really helpful, is just to picture that you're planting a garden. And you've got a bag of seeds, and you have no idea what they are. You have like this bag of seeds, and you don't know what kind of seeds they are, but you have this empty plot of land, and you want to be able to eat from this garden as soon as possible. So if you go and you plant as many seeds as you can, having that first touch point with as many people as you can, and get the seeds in the ground, you might be planting lettuce, you might be planting carrots, you might be planting, you know, beets, you might be planting like guavas, you might be planting something that you can eat in 2 or 3 months. You might be planting avocado trees and mango trees that take 10 years to fruit. You want to plant them all, and you just don't, like, there's no, it's just really about like honoring the person's process as well, and knowing that it happens. Like it's so non-linear how it works. But the only thing that we can really kind of stay like continuing to plant the seeds and water them. Like something's gonna grow as long as you keep planting the seeds and watering them. And I did see this beautiful question about human design. There are a couple of magnetic marketing replays in the boards that go into different things about your strategy specifically within this business. So Ariana, did you want to share anything? I was just
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for bringing that in. You know, I put a little bit in the chat box, but it's, yeah, that dance of letting people do their thing, touching back in, stepping back. And it was funny too, because I asked about the financing thing, and you were like, yeah, it's kind of random. And so in my mind, I was like, that's not an option. But then last night I was like, okay, I really want to do this. And I was looking at, just the first of the month and all of the childcare and the rent coming up, and being like, I'm going to see if I get qualified. And it was like, bam, you're qualified. And I was like, oh shit, universe, thank you. But I did have a question, and I'd love for people to weigh in the chat box who've been involved in this a little bit longer. If there's like a formula or anything around sharing like personal experiences and testimonials, and sharing like the actual information about the device. And if there's like if anyone's seen like, oh, it's like 50-50 works well or something like that. I love organization and systems. And so I'd love to hear any feedback in the chat box from people who have experience with ways that land well. And of course, it's going to be different for everyone and nuanced, but I just wanted to throw that in.
That's a really great question. And we'll get some responses in the chat. In my experience, it's you that people are most magnetized to, not the information about the device. So you will see like that often people will post, you know, in their stories or whatever, like there can be like a lot of device, like kind of information, or sale things or whatever. I personally don't, I don't do it that way. That can work for different people, probably based on their strategy as well. But the more that you share your personal reasons for being here, like what it is that you are desiring to experience and change in your life, without even like, you don't even need to have results. Like you can just say, you know, I've been like, this is what's going on for me currently, and I'm committed to shifting it. Could be physical, could be financial, could be community, whatever. Like when we resonate with each other, mostly in the place of shared challenges. And when we resonate with someone's challenge, then we have hope that we can move through that as well. Like there's like this, and not to be out there complaining. It's not like, oh, like complaining on your social media, but just really being vulnerable. And that is what tends to draw people in. And then I like to send the information privately. I send like the resources and stuff like in the conversation. Anyone else? What's been working for you? If anyone wants to chime in the chat. All right.
I do kind of have a follow-up question from that, or just a follow-up thought. Just thinking about sharing from the heart, sharing how it's moving in our own lives, which is so authentic and real, and people obviously resonate and are magnetized to when we're showing up in our authenticity. And I think from just being the observer on the outside for the last few months, it's been equally powerful to hear how it's like improving people's quality of life on the physical, emotional level, and also how it's improving their life from the business standpoint. Like I felt magnetized to both. And so I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud.
Beautiful. Welcome here. Thank you for not only like trying the Klarna. Yeah. And also just like side note, I try not to tell people, oh, there's this great payment plan, because sometimes it doesn't work. And I don't want anyone to be like, Klarna is a little bit like, it can be it's just kind of it's random. So I don't want anyone to get like super excited that it's going to work for them, and then it doesn't, and then they're like devastated. So I just kind of keep the Klarna thing, like I hold that pretty lightly. Jagat Kaur, hi, with your baby.
Hello, I have my voice over here. Mama's life. I have a question, and I also want to say that now that I'm sharing Healy with everybody, I ask myself, how did I have this connection with you, Sarah? And how did it happen? How was my own process to buy Healy? And that inspires me to understand what can be happening at the other side with the women that have been talking to me. And I was doubting myself. I had all the emotions until the end where I decided to jump in. So that's given me patience also with my women and understanding this non-linear process. And I do have just a specific question, and is like, once I'm having my women with me, how do I share the boards app, or are they welcome to all of these tools, the Telegram group, the boards? That's all. I will want to be sure and how to share all of that with them.
Yeah, definitely. So I did see some of the comments in the thread about boards, and how, you know, different experiences with the boards. And I want to give everyone just like a backstory on, like, in February, but way back, remember when we didn't have the boards? February is really like mid-February is really when like everything that you're seeing here like got ignited. Before that, we didn't even barely have calls. We had no boards. We had no resource folder. We had like nothing. It was just, and there was really nothing even barely happening in this community. And then in February, because I have experience previous to Healy with building another company, and I was like, okay, if I want my business to move, like I need to create an onboarding resource. So what you're seeing with boards was basically me taking like 2 days out of my life and saying, I need to just like give birth to an onboarding system that's going to be good enough for people to be able to move energy with. So we are right now, if you're like frustrated with boards, we are in the process, like, and pretty much since then, it's just been like wild growth mode. So we're setting aside some time in December to really get in there and start to refine some of the tools and organize them better and make them more beautiful. So we know it's not perfect, and if it's frustrating you, like, I'm sorry. And you know, that was like that's phase one. So boards, love it. Also, I want to tell you, there's something super cool about boards that I want to make sure everybody knows. And actually, some of the functionality that makes it so powerful is that if you install boards as a keyboard onto your device, and then you click like in a message to send some, so let's say you have like, let's say, you know, like Ariana's like, okay, well, when are the call times, right? Instead of me going to my notes app on my phone, like copying the call times and then going back to the message that I'm in and pasting them and pressing send, if I have the boards keyboard installed, I can just click that little world, like where the emoji keyboard is, right? Like in the bottom corner, click that and then scroll down to the boards, and the whole boards app appears. And you can navigate to whatever it is that you want to send that person, whether it be like how to go public, or these are the, you know, these are like the prompts for the 11-day social media thing, or this is the call time or whatever. And you literally just navigate to what you want to send them, click on it. And if it's text, it automatically appears in like the type spot. And then you just press send. And then you can send them something else. Or if it's a video, it's like, or if it's a PDF, you click it and it says copied. And then you click back where the cursor is and you say paste and send. So it can be, yeah, it's pretty awesome. Like I love, and then you can also make your own separate board that has your links in it, that has little scripts that you like to use, that has, you know, videos that you like or whatever. You can create your own. So I have one that I used for the boot camp, and one that I used for inheritance, and like one that I used for Healy, and it's got all my little, you know, like all my little, yeah, it's awesome. So boards, it's got its things, but if you use it, you know, there's ways that you can really like leverage that tool. But we're gonna, you know, we have all kinds of stuff in the works. So yeah. Okay. Carly, did you want to jump in? I saw that you said you wanted to speak. You had something to share.
Yeah, I want to say that Hack with the Boards saves me so much time. Oh my gosh, so much time. So if anyone hasn't incorporated that, it has been life-changing. Yeah, I know this sounds kind of silly, but you know, the people that have been reaching out to me, I've just been reminding them of how much money that they're saving. Like I know that they're interested, and I literally give them, you know, they're like, oh, you know, for the people that say like, oh, I'm so interested, but it's not for me. I just remind them, and I'm like, listen, I would feel so bad if you got this next month and you had to pay $2,000 more, almost $3,000 more. Like I just love you and I honor your space, but I really want you to have this amazing promo. And then I've had so many people just be like, you know what, you're right. You know, it sounds like so obvious, you know, but sometimes people just need that reminder of why. I mean, I know urgency isn't necessarily the best, like, I mean, I don't think it's unethical in this way, because we know Healy, if it was something different, it would be like, oh, blah, 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 gotta buy now, you know, but that's not how I feel with it. I just feel like reminding people of like, you know, my close friends that I've been speaking with, or people that have been messaging me for, you know, a little bit about it now, that have kind of ghosted. I've had a lot of people ghost and, you know, then just message me and be like, oh, I just got it. And I'm like, what? We haven't talked. But it's so funny how that happens. But yeah, I just think that like reminding people that like I've said to someone just now, and I was like, I would be so bummed if you had to pay full price. Like I know how bad you want this. And if there's a way to make it work, like I really want that for you. So, I mean, that's part of service. And when I look at it from a lens of, you know, we're serving them by not only giving them this device to grab, but also saving them a ton of money, I just kind of reflect that and make that more clear. And I noticed that when I follow up with that, people are really receptive and they are really grateful, because some, people just forget and we're busy, and like we all know. So I just think that confirming that and just reminding them. And Sarah, I love how you always bring up just about asking more about them, getting to know why they're scared right now, getting to know why they can't afford it right now, getting to know their resistance, and then working with it, connecting it with yourself, connecting it with people on your team. I've had so many people on my team. And Hillary, I love that Hillary's so open to speaking to people and like having people sent over to her and speak. I mean, that's, that's why our community is here, to reflect that and be like, oh, I spoke with someone in the community today and they were scared about this and they overcame that. So just always connecting, as we all talk about, connecting their story to someone in our community that's overcome it. And Sarah, I constantly bring up your story and throw that in with people that can relate to it, because our community is so big and there is a piece for everybody to relate to. So yeah, I just, I don't want to sound like a broken record, because I know we talk about all this, but yeah, I think that following up and asking why, like what's going on right now. And I've been getting a lot of feedback of that and just their story, and then being able to be more compassionate and serve better in that way.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Carly. And I think that it really echoes what Jagapur was saying, which is that, when she back to her process of between like getting up to the place where she said yes, that it was really her insecurities, doubts, fears. Like I think a lot of times, well, personally, I can say that if someone has a resistance or an objection, I can almost like take it personally of like, oh, they don't like Healy, or they don't like me, or, what did I do wrong? And really it's like that it's their process, so not to take it personally when someone's not responding to you, or that they're whatever, because we have zero idea of why unless we ask. And the more clarity that we can get, I mean, you can even say, well, I'm just, I'm curious, like what's coming up for you right now. So getting more information on what's actually happening for them. And then there is this really nice, like, kind of way to reflect when someone, like, let's say someone tells me, I'll use this example, I'm just not into MLMs, right? So like if you get to the point where someone actually gives you like their reason, I'm just not into MLMs, like I think that they suck, or whatever. Oh, Megan, shoots, I wanted to get your question in here. Can you wait for 1 minute and then ask your question? Okay, this will be fast. So if you do get to the point where someone like specifically tells you what's coming up for them, I like to use this framework, which is called Feel, Felt, Found. And it's really like very much reflecting and honoring where they're at, instead of trying to tell them that they shouldn't be where they're at. Like, oh no, like we're not going to argue with someone. Oh, MLMs are amazing, like you should do it. Like, but you can feel them first, right? So you can say like, oh, I totally feel you. Like, Megan, I totally feel you. I felt the same way. I also felt like MLMs are like, and it's true. Personally, for me, I felt like that. And then what I found, I can say I felt like that because when I was a kid, my mom like did a company and turned into like a total alien, and like was ostracized and ridiculed by my whole family. And it was like a total traumatic like shit show for me as a kid. Like it was terrible. And what I found was that when I really got into this place of clarifying how I wanted to feel in my body, to be making money, to be getting off of this trajectory of like working until I die as a body worker, when I got really clear on my prayer of all the things that I really wanted to be experiencing, which was like, being able to spend more time with my kids, create, a different trajectory financially, be more in community with women. Like this checked off all the boxes in such a way that I never, ever expected. And at this point in my life, I can say with all honesty, if it's not an MLM, you will not find me doing it, because I love this model so much. right? So your feel, felt, found might not be as like as in depth. I'm kind of giving you guys like a little extra juju around the MLM question. But it can be really simple. Hey, like I feel like I felt the same way. And like what I found was that, you know, when I actually made the investment, a lot of my other expenses on, you know, body work and, you know, going to whatever the chiropractor every week, like they just like, I'm actually saving money with this, you know, so whatever the objection is, whatever is if it's not an MLM, I'm not doing it. That's right. Unless it's but I mean, even like doing my own course, even doing inheritance, I'm like, I can't do that kind of thing like more than once a year. I'm not going to be redoing that. Like, I'm not going to reteach that ever. Like, I might like re-release it, but you know, it's like, whoa. So, all right. Bye, Carly. Love you. So let me open up to Megan here.
Hey, thanks. You kind of answered it with the boards. So like that was kind of my initial experience was like, okay, like I didn't even know to like drink water. Like now that I've added electrolytes to my day, like awesome, I'm good. But you know, like little things like that it's like, oh my gosh, I was really worried at first because it was like, I'm going to have to hold everybody's hand and get them the right information because I want them to have a really good first experience. So it's good to know that there's going to be more organization. And I understand that, yeah. But it sounds like a lot of people are kind of doing that on their own. Right. So like, you know, moving on from us, they'll be that. But yeah, so that was just kind of something. But like for the new people, something I can share is like, when I read in the boards finally to like share your why, because I was like, okay, I don't even have my Healy yet, or I'm just in my first week, but like sharing like why you said yes to the Healy, to the business, that was really helpful. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, babe. It's good to have you here. Fernanda, did you want to pop in and share verbally what you put in the chat here? I think that's a great, well, I mean, read the chat if you have MLM questions. Network marketing, you were politically correct over here, but yeah, it's a love
Yeah. Hi, sorry, I'm here. I was just literally walking up to the coffee shop to order something. But can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just saying I love to break down how Healy is so different because it's a godsend of a company. Like people every single end of the month, women are like, how is it that I just got paid this much when I sold 2 Healys? You know, so it's beautiful. And so I really like to emphasize what I wrote there in the comments that what makes it MLM-y is it's compensation plan. It's affiliate based direct sales business, but beyond that, the compensation. So that just makes it like any other business, right? The direct sale commission that you get at the end of the month for having it be an affiliate sales business. But the compensation plan is generationally community leveraged. That means that you're working with other people to build wealth. This is what we talk about when we talk about matriarchal revolution, like we're doing this for the mothers, you know, it's such a gift. And I just share that with people. And I share it from a really true, authentic place, because when I first came into this business, I believed that I had this distortion around MLMs too. And so I had to figure out how to answer that for myself. And now my confidence in my answer is so like people feel it. There's no doubt in me that this is the way to go. And holding that frequency is makes people feel safe. It makes people feel good. So they, have a desire to want to be like, okay, I'm going to trust her. I'm going to do this instead of, okay, well, maybe she's, I don't know. If what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that the energy that you're vibrating at when you talk about this matters, and answering all those doubts that you have within yourself matter, so that you're not attracting the people that have the same doubts, but instead have the answers to those people so that you can help them cross that barrier and into this business with you. So, yeah.
Awesome. Fernanda. Another thing that I like to say too, or that I really like to reference, is this is like the dollar per hour model. And if you don't have leverage, I mean, first of all, like if you only have one single income stream right now, you're putting yourself at a serious disadvantage where there's inflation and like financial instability globally. And two, you know, that this is a leveraged model. Like it's a system where we can invest our energy into the system, and our energy can grow. We can invest our time into the system, and our time can grow. And actually, instead of having to be on that like solopreneur grind forever, that you will start to create something that will continue to pay you long into the future as your energy starts to, you know, as you pull back your energy a little bit. So in this model, you put your energy, you invest your energy up front, and then you get paid longer term on the other side. All right, everyone that's jumping off, we love you. And Rachel, I wanted to actually just circle back around to your question about the video. So there were a couple more things that I wanted to say, and then I got sidetracked. So, oh wait, did she jump off? Well, I'll tell all of you anyway. That one of the things, like when you send a tool to somebody, before you send it to them, don't just like, I mean, first of all, make sure that you're getting consent. Never, ever, ever send anything to anybody unless you ask them and they say yes. Okay, I think that there can be like you know, sometimes you can be like, I'm just gonna send them this video. Right? Like I'm just gonna like look the other way and like shoot out a couple videos. But if you ask and you get a yes, then already you're 10 steps ahead than if you just send it unsolicited. So take the time, ask, hey, would you like me to send some information? Like I'd love to, like if I sent you a video about this, would you want to check it out? So if they say yes, then you can emphasize that you really care about their thoughts and their takeaways. Like I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on this. When do you think that you can watch it, and when would be a good time to circle back and connect? So that's a nice like framework that you can create to like build in the second, like to build in the expectation that you're going to be reaching out to them again, like that you want to hear from them. You're not just sending them a video randomly and then being like, should I write back? Like, should I ask them if they watched it? Like, am I an alien? You know, so really like taking that time and setting it up so that you know. And also when someone first enrolls, same thing, like when they enroll, you can say, okay, great, I'm super excited. Here's the resources. I want to make sure that we touch base again. Like I'm excited to like walk you through the process, and you can set up a time right when they purchase so that again, you have that expectation that you're going to be connected again, and you're not just like, okay, this person enrolled, like, should I invite them to the call? Am I weird? Like they didn't show up, like what do it, you know, like that you're not just feeling like an alien, like that you're actually like following up in a respectful way with a set of expectations. Yeah. Any other questions? I know we've been on here for about an hour, so I'm going to leave it open for like 10, 15 more minutes if anyone would like to bring anything to the table.
One.
Hi, Dora.
Hi. I actually wanted to highlight Natalie's question because she dropped it in the chat, but it's on fire right now. So it kind of went, up in the clouds. But she's on my team and I'm so excited she's here today. So I just wanted to read her question and maybe you can share what comes through for you. She said she has had a really intense health transformation with Healy, and she hesitates sharing it because it feels really personal, but she also feels like that's holding her back from connecting with more people. And then the second part of her question is how to share the business piece with new people that really are just interested in the Healy without being too pushy.
Okay, so I think Natalie might have jumped off, but I'll answer this. She can hear it in the replay.
Okay.
So I'm hearing that. Also, like a lot of times, if you listen to me, I do use reflection, reflective listening. So I'm hearing this question, that she had a really intense health transformation, and it's really personal. So that, like, there's different layers and levels of where we can, of how we can share our story. And if it feels too personal, like you don't have to blast it out there on your social media and be like, I just had this crazy personal health transformation. Like, I'm so embarrassed. And like, it's really, like we don't have to like stretch our nervous systems to the point where we feel like, so she can just share one specific, like one of the things when we're sharing our health transformations as well to think about is, first of all, compliance. So it's really important to never say anything on social media that could be taken as any kind of medical claim ever. I feel on top of that, that it's much more powerful to share how this like challenge that she was having was making her feel beforehand. So maybe like, you know, I have migraines, like, you know, Healy healed my migraines or whatever. But instead of saying Healy healed my migraines, you can say, I used to be like, you know, I've dealt with debilitating pain for, you know, however many years. And this is how it would impact my life. You know, it would make me like, I was so exhausted that I couldn't be present with my children. Like I was fighting with my husband all the time. I had this sense of hopelessness. You know, sometimes I even, whatever, like that, but you're actually describing more than just saying like, this was my condition and but you're actually describing how that challenge like impacted specific things in your life. You don't have to describe like the challenge itself, just how was it impacting. And then on the other side, again, you're not going to say, oh, and now like I'm pain free and like Healy healed me, you know, but you can say, you know, it's so crazy because I never thought I had given up all hope that this could shift, and it has. And now I wake up in the morning and my kids are crawling all over me in bed. And I'm just like, I just feel so grateful that I can hold them and be like fully present because I'm not in a fog of, right. So that is one way to talk about like physical change that is compliant. And, you know, speaking about the condition itself is just, it's not even necessary. And whatever is feeling extra personal for her. I mean, I can talk to her, you know, directly as well, but, you know, just share one part of it. Just if you can pull out one of those threads of how it has changed her life, the impacts on her life, just pull out one thread. You don't have to go all the way, all the way in and like tell, you know, bear it all. But just focus on like, just bringing in little threads. And then in the question, this is a great question as well. How do I like talk to someone about the business if they just bought a Healy for their personal use without being a weirdo? Well, that's like, my answer is that I talk about business. Like when I talk about business, I attract people. Like when I put out information about even just like my personal why of wanting to change my, you know, be like what it means to me to be able to unschool my kids. Like if you go check out my content, it's 100% business forward, and business forward is like my why. Like you'll see my content is all about like my non-negotiables are like being with my children all the time, like being able to travel. So describing that's business forward. It's not like talking about the comp plan in your stories. It's talking about the world that you want to create and inhabit and create, not just for you, but for everybody. So if you're 100% talking just about the product and the Healy and how awesome it is, you're going to attract people that 100% want to use the Healy for themselves. And then it is awkward. It can be like really, and they're like, okay, so you bought a Healy, like, don't you want to jump on this business training? You know, and they're like, why am I on a business training? This is so weird. I just want to use my Healy and feel better. So if you bring in the conversation out front where you're like, this is what I'm, you know, this is part of it, but this is also part of it, then you're going to attract people. You're already giving them the information that there is this income stream available and why that's important, you know, like whatever, however you want to approach that. Again, I like to talk about multiple streams of income and, you know, financial sovereignty and these things. Then the people that are responding to that content, they're going to come in and be like, okay, so how do I make money? And you're like, come on this Zoom, right? So it's just like you're starting people off from a different direction. There are also plenty of people who come into Healy because they want to use the device. And then they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want to tell everybody about it. So one just quick bridge for the people that come in to use the Healy, you can ask them or let them know, you know, there's a pretty simple system here where we can support you to get your investment paid off, like what you paid for the Healy, like we can help you get that like paid off and receive an extra free device from Healy. Is that something that you might want to be connected in with? Or is that something that might interest you? Or is that something that you'd like more information about? So again, you want to get consent from them, but just let them know, like, you know, you don't have to tell them, okay, like, nope, you're part of my team, like do the business trainings. But first you want to ask them and get that consent, give them the clarity. And if they're like, you know what, I really don't, then just, that's cool. You're not going to force them or try to make them want something that they're not wanting, but you can ask and open up that curiosity to see if it's something that they might be wanting to engage with. Does that help, Dora?
Yes, it does. That's beautiful and very helpful, I think, for a lot of people, because the business piece, I think for a lot of us is really new. So just navigating that. And yeah, I just really appreciate that. So thank you so much.
All right, I saw a question in, and I can't. Oh, someone coming off mute.
Can I? It's Ruby. Hi. And first I want to say I meant no shade at all about the Boards app or anything, because there is a lot of it that's been really helpful. And when I tapped in a little bit further, part of what is really came up for me and all that is like, I'm watching so many videos of doing this and doing that. I've had actual like problems with my Healy, like it smells really bad when I use it. So then there's like some base things. But in the last MLM I was in, it was really about like sovereignty and freedom and owning your time. And yet like everyone was on their phones all the time. Like they never left their phones. And so it was like these moms, it was like a pretend thing, because they were like, I get to homeschool, but they're like always on their phones. And so I had this moment of like, oh my God, I'm always on my phone again. And my partner's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just trying to learn how to do my thing. So for me, it sort of brought up this like, oh, I really want an easier way to do this, because the old way didn't work. And also this like, you can do this, but really like I'm working my ass off all the time on my phone, on social media. And it wasn't fulfilling or joyful. And so for me, part of it's just like, I appreciate the work that's gone into the Boards app. And I know you all are working on like revamping it, and so many comments about like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Cause I've started to make notes too. Okay, like this video is helpful, this one's helpful. So it's just, for me, it's really about like streamlining, and also being sure that I'm not, as much as possible, not taking the old things that didn't work with me, because I just know it was so easy to get caught up in that. And part of it is the excitement with the device and things like that, and the business. So that's sort of where it was coming from, and what I've been navigating going through it.
Yeah, and actually, Ruby, you're one of the inspirations, because John has been like sharing, you know, it's beautiful because I'm so close to my creations that like I need people to be like, oh, this part could really be improved. That's really awesome and helpful when constructive, you know, invitations come through. It's amazing. And so Janon and Fernanda and I are, you know, actually Janon has already like sent me a whole outline of where she, you know, like we're on it. And part of the reason is because you have, you know, like brought in requests and opportunities to improve. So all good. We love you. And yeah, we're going to get that device thing figured out and replaced, because that what's going on with your device is a warranty issue. So we're on it. Katya had a question, so I'm gonna try to get my chat. It's not, here we go. Okay. What is the best time of the month for people to join in terms of cutoff times and fast track bonuses and all of that? Perfect question to end the Zoom with, because we're at the end of the month. So the best time for someone to join is exactly when they're ready. The best time for someone to join is when they are ready. And we can sort of sometimes get this sensation of like, well, you know, if they come in at the end of the month, like, is that going to like hurt their process, or are they going to have less time to get their fast start? First of all, the fast start is quite long. The fast start, when you get those, you actually have the month that you enroll plus the first full month plus the second full month. So that's like 60 plus days to get your free device. You have the first month that you enroll plus, like, you have the month that you enroll plus that first full month to get the extra cash bonuses. So it's still quite a bit of time either way that you look at it. Like my old company, the fast start was like a 10-day window. It was like, talk about like nervous system overwhelm. It was like, okay, like here, like you have 10 days to hit this goal. And it was like, so I personally feel like the fast start is quite expansive. What can start to happen if we are interjecting into someone's space of readiness is that, you know, and I've seen this so many times, like, oh, just wait and buy it at the beginning of the month. And then like they have some expense, you know, something happens, like their car breaks or they're, you know, like they change their mind for whatever reason. It's not accessible. It's like that little magic window is now gone. And like, now they're just out of it. So really focusing, like really just bringing that space of like when the person's ready, that's the best time for them to start. Also, there's a very strong tendency for the magnetism to build and the courage, like what happens towards the end of a month is that people are seeing, they're like, okay, like I have this, you know, like I really want to make it to this place. Like I want to reach this milestone. And I know that at like whatever, 7:59, the milestone's going to be like reset. So I have like a little bit more energy and inspiration and courage to do the things in the last few days of the month that I was like not willing to do for the first 27 days of the month. Just like call that person that I'm nervous to talk to, or like, you know, whatever it is. So people tend to get into very high, like a heightened state of activity towards the end of the month. And there's a lot of momentum that builds. So if you have somebody wait until the beginning of next month, you're actually imprinting into their business. You're like eroding the possibility for them to create that same kind of momentum in their business. Because you're like, oh, hold on, like we're gonna wait. And if everybody says, hold on, we're gonna wait, then the end of the month turns into a huge stall out and nothing happens. And it's like, so, I mean, I personally feel like when we set somebody up in the best, sorry, my phone is running out of batteries, like setting someone up in the best way possible is number one, like honoring their readiness, and number two, imprinting them with the momentum that's possible. And like if someone comes in like a high moment when there's like a lot of movement and energy, they're catching that energy, they're catching that, like they're being born into that energy. And then they're going to have that imprint, which is like, ooh, like this energy is like what, you know, what we're doing at the end of the month. And then they're going to also like transmit the possibilities and the miracles at the end of the month portal. So yeah, don't hold them back. Like just, you know, the end of the month is awesome. It's beautiful. And it is not something to ever like shy away from. Like, and you know, my points, I'm just going to share this. The last day of the promo, my personal volume went up 200,000 points in 24 hours. That's what's possible when there's a large number of people that are like a little bit more excited. And they're like, ooh, the sales end, you know, like that's what can happen. It's like huge things that seem unimaginable and impossible can move when we're all like in this when we're all in the stream going the same direction. And also I've seen people hit fast start in like 2 days anyway. So yes. All right. Well, thank you everybody for this beautiful little drop in. I'm going to let you get back to go forward. I'm going to let you go forward into the magical mystery end of the month portal and enjoy the process. And I think that's really what I want to close it with, is like, explore the places where this can feel good. Like if it feels, like if it feels like it's a lot, I mean, it's a lot to step into. It's a lot to like integrate, that things can, can feel like a lot. You're opening the door to like a big party and, it's like the music and you're like, well, how am I going to integrate this? But, just like reach out, get support. If you have any questions, like we're all here for you. We're all here to, to in service to really like having this process feel as good as it can. And also not shying away from the places of like the expansion where it can feel uncomfortable. But, we're here to support the movement through those spaces with grace. So thank you, everybody. Beautiful to see you. Love you. Aloha.